Hi, good evening. Thanks for coming in and checking this live stream rally out with us. It's the second time we're doing this. The first one we did was last Friday with the Pasir Ris Punggol GRC team for the People's Action Party. We didn't finish all the topics. We went through quite a lot of things on Friday night. We talked mostly about jobs, social assistance, and the impact of COVID-19 on our economy and our people here in Pasir Ris Punggol GRC. We also had the chance to talk about our plans for the Pasir Ris and Punggol infrastructure, the facilities, the various programs that we're putting in place. We explained our local manifesto. We also had quite a few discussions about the work in the community, how people are coming together and helping each other out. There were quite a lot of comments on our Facebook page, which we didn't get a chance to answer. We did say that we would try to come back and answer some of those questions today, as well as take more questions. So if you're watching this live, please ask your questions in the comments, and we will try our best to answer them. And then perhaps we can have a discussion about the things that matter to you. The campaign is nearing the end. We are reaching the end of the electoral period, and we're going into the last day of the campaign tomorrow. The day after that is cooling off day, and then polling day this Friday. Every campaign is slightly different. And this one has its own unique characteristics as a result of COVID-19. So I thought maybe this evening what I would begin with is to ask my three new comrades. And you've met them. We have Desmond Tan, we have Sharil Taha, and we have Yo Wan Ming. And I thought I'd ask them how they felt. What have they picked up on this journey over the last few days that we have gone through together? I'm going to start with Desmond. I mean, Desmond, are you tired?
What do you think? Just look at my eye rim, right? So I think I have also lost a few kg. My wife told me.
I didn't think it was possible.
But it's really been an eye opener, I must say. It's been quite an intense week, but it's also I've learned so much things.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of jokingly said you're tired, but did you expect it to be this physically fatiguing?
I prepared myself for it mentally, but like most things, right? You just have to go through it until you go through the journey. You wake up 5 o'clock, and then you get yourselves ready, and you don't get home until maybe about 11 o'clock. So I think it's an intense and repeated cycle that actually you feel the true experience of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. What about you, Sharon? What's your emotional journey been like over the last few days?
So I'll begin with, unfortunately for me, I didn't get to lose a few kilos. Like that. I wanted to do so. I was hoping to do so. Wasn't able to achieve it. But it's definitely been an adrenaline rush, seeing all our residents in Pasir Ris Punggol, hearing the stories, having the conversation with you, and definitely I feel energized when I have interactions with the residents, and you don't realize it throughout the day, but at the end of the day, when you're knocking off at 12 a.m., you are absolutely tired, and the moment you put your head to the pillow, and then that's it. The next thing you know, it's already 5 a.m. and we're up again.
5:45 start.
Yeah, even though you're staying so close,
I get an additional 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Are you like going off home for a nap in the middle of the day?
Unfortunately, not. That was the plan, but there was no opportunity at all to do that. Yeah.
But you've sort of had a sense of engagement with the residents as you've gone forward. People have gotten to know you. Actually, I was walking around with you today, and people say, "Yeah, I saw him the other day." People have met you several times.
Yeah, exactly, and it's definitely very exciting when we remember each other, and then we have a conversation and picked up from where we left off. Quite often, we don't have enough time to finish conversation or to build on it a bit more. But to bump into each other again and have that conversation and pick up where we left off is definitely exciting. It's nice to hear from the residents of Pasir Ris Punggol.
Excellent. No, and I think one thing. What's your experience been like? You've been actually very active in the community before in Punggol, before we started this electoral period.
Mm-hmm.
But that must have been completely different, right? I mean, you had a sense of what was happening, the programs, the jobs. assistance and so forth. But then we went into the campaign. Did you expect it to be like this, and how did you find it?
Well, I'm very energetic, so it's not been too bad for me. But Sherry, you're right. By the time I get home at night, when I look through my emails, have conversations with the residents online and all that, I actually found there was several times where I fell asleep with the phone on my forehead. But having said this has been a very energizing journey for me. It's always very nice to meet up with the residents. And Dr. Daniel, you're right. Prior to this, I've been meeting up with a lot of residents on Zoom. And it is really a special treat to be able to see them in real life and to have, chats with them in real life as well. So that was nice for me.
Yeah.
Can I just add that actually my interaction with the residents is not just the walkabout and the face-to-face house visits, but also in the social media. We also get quite a number of feedback, questions, and encouragements over the social media, which we also need to dedicate some time to listen to them as well. So that's also something that I've learned over the last few days.
Excellent. Just speaking about social media, we are getting a few comments and a few questions on our feed. So maybe this is not an inappropriate time to bring up a few of those. I'm going to just highlight one to begin with, which is by Ng Ming Jie, who hopes that Madam Sun will be back with us soon. She was our colleague for the last term, and we worked very closely together. So we've repeatedly said we're going to continue working together with her. SM. I mean, that's so we value her comradeship, and we'll find ways to make that work.
Well, indeed, I was just with her before coming here for this live chat today. I was out with her in Punggol West, reassuring the residents of Punggol West that even though Punggol West and Ms. Shun are in a single-member constituency, if she's elected and we are elected, we intend to form a town council together and work together very, very closely. The town council will manage both towns in an integrated manner, but particularly for Punggol Town, an integrated manner to maintain the town, make sure that the finances are well managed, make sure the town is well maintained, and also to develop Punggol in an integrated and comprehensive way.
So we intend to. So
Yes.
Ming Jie, we intend to function as one team. If both Punggol West under Ms. Sun and the Pasir Ris Punggol with this team gets elected together as a PAP slate. So let me reassure you on that. There's a very specific question here from Xiang Xing about, are there plans to build a sheltered walkway and bus stop at Pasir Ris Grove? So first point, we need to identify who is the MP responsible for pursuing this matter. Pasir Ris Grove is going to be, depending on which block, I suppose.
Well, I have been responsible.
The MP, we are not yet.
Indeed, there is a plan to do so. Not Pasir Ris Grove is where we have quite a number of our new condominium developments. So we do have a plan. In fact, it's going to be executed to build a walkway along the main road, but it will not go into every condominium. So there is a plan, and it's in progress.
Excellent. A couple more questions. I've got one by Autumn Flowers, Miss Flowers. I'm hoping it's a miss. I'm not misrepresenting you, but if you are having some issues with your housing, you haven't identified where in our GRC you are, but please contact us directly and we'll find a way to help you. We don't know when we'll be, if we are elected, we don't know if and how and when we'll be doing Meet the People sessions, but we'll find ways to make ourselves available and accessible to our residents, and help such as what you've described is something that we will find a way to deliver. So please contact us if we are elected, and we'll find a way to follow up on that. There's another question by Yanni Ping, and it's asking that there are many exciting developments in place for the Punggol community, whether we have extra plans to balance and protect the biodiversity, the ecosystem, and the environment in the midst of our various development works. And I think this is a particularly interesting question for us in Punggol particularly, where there is a focus on preserving the greenery, the biodiversity, and actually we've created new ecosystems through our waterway park. The waterway park is not an ecosystem that was there before, and it was very deliberately created through a plan from Mr. Mabatan and the Ministry of National Development that has now resulted in actually an increasing amount of biodiversity in the middle of Punggol. On top of that, the HDB developments try very hard to preserve greenery and add greenery. And again, that creates a substrate for animals and birds and so forth to come in. So that is very much part of the overall design of what we do in Punggol. At the same time, we do have to make sure that we build facilities and homes. So there will be a period of time of construction, but the end result, we hope, is a very green, livable town with lots of water and waterways. If you're not sure what this looks like, you just look at the picture that I posted on my Instagram page last night, which is at the slightly more mature end of the Punggol Waterway Park, between Waterway Terrace 1 and 2. And you can see BTO developments surrounded by greenery. That's what we hope most of Punggol will eventually be. Okay, I'm going to move on a little bit. We hope you can keep your questions and comments coming. But I'm going to ask a question to SM Teo. He's been through many more elections than all the rest of us put together. New candidates, it's their first election, my third time, but he's done this before. So, but SM, it's actually, we say this in a very light-hearted way, but this is a sober election, and there are some serious issues out there. How have you found the campaigning this time?
Well, Daniel said, one of the things that we had to do during this campaign was when we described ourselves. I had to, because we're all wearing masks, so I had to describe myself as, I'm the guy with the white hair, because that's all they could see of our face. And I had to say to Janil, sorry Janil, but he's the one with less hair. So that's how we identified ourselves. But indeed, I would say that I've been able to mentor several new candidates through the time, 7 elections now, 7 times. And this has been the most unusual election. I think our new candidates may feel it or understand it, but we had just come out of 2 months of circuit breaker. People were just coming out of their homes, but it provided an interesting opportunity because during this period we managed to meet many more residents in a compressed period than we usually do in a general election, because people are not traveling overseas for work or vacation. Many people are working from home, and even when they go out for marketing and shopping, they're doing their marketing and shopping close to home. So when we did our house visits, there were many more people at home. When we went to the markets and the shops and the food courts, there were many more residents, our own residents, that we were able to meet. So this was quite an unusual circumstance. So in every election, our candidate, it's a very compressed way for our candidates, especially our new candidates, to meet many of our residents. But of course, this is something which has to continue throughout the term. You have to go out, reach out to them on a regular basis, meet them, get to know many, many more of them, and to continue the conversations that Cheryl was talking about.
So SM, the COVID-19 situation changed the tone and the feel of our campaign. It changed what we could do and how the residents could access the information. It's also changed quite a lot of our campaigning strategies, including, for example, doing this, which we hadn't done before last Friday. But it's also changed the sort of defining issues that we've had to put front and center for our residents. I thought it might be useful then to kind of ask our new candidates, our new comrades. They have, I do remember going through my first electoral campaign, and I remember feeling like a very different person at the end compared to the start. And a big part of that was having to grapple with the issues that the campaign threw up, that my interactions with the residents threw up. And I'm assuming my 3 friends have gone through a very similar journey of personal development and insight into the issues of the campaign and what our residents face. So I might begin with Desmond and ask, what have you understood about the challenges that our residents are facing, and how might that inform what you are going to do should you be elected, or should we be elected as a team? And we have to get things done. We need to choose what we focus on. What have you found in the last 7-8 days of campaigning that's going to inform that focus that you?
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that I want to reaffirm the point that you made in our last session, that as representative of the people, it's important to make ourselves accessible, available for people. So the last 7 or 8 days that we've been going about, or even before that, actually is an opportunity for us to not just know our residents, but also to hear the stories and get the feedback. So that's the first point I want to say, that it's an important lesson that I've learned, that as a representative, we have to get out, put ourselves out there, right? So of course, we have had many stories, we have had many feedback from residents who, and really thank you for giving us all the feedback over the last many days for myself. And one of the common theme that I've personally experienced is actually about issues relating to COVID. That, although we are now going through it together, actually there are a lot of scenarios, a lot of permutations of issues that our residents are facing relating to COVID. And in particular is the fact that they may not fully know how to seek help, where to get help. Throughout this period, government has rolled out many help schemes, financial or even many other agencies as well, the schemes. But actually, sometimes it's really the last mile, right? Whether people know where to seek help. So
was there one particular
Yes.
example of this?
Yes, I would like to share a story that actually I met a lady who was coming to me and said that actually she's been trying to get her husband's motorbike back from Malaysia, because the
husband is in Malaysia. The husband was in Malaysia.
husband was in Malaysia in January. He had an accident, so he came back first. Thankfully, he's okay now. He's fully recovered. But he left the bike there because the bike needed some repairs, right? So, but COVID hit. So there was movement control order, and then there was circuit breaker. But the husband needed the bike to continue his livelihood. He needed it for his job here. So she didn't know where to get. They have been asking around, and she Google and all that. So
he wasn't able to work after returning back to Singapore.
Correct.
Because
correct.
he had no
bike.
I see.
So she was telling me, can you help me, because I don't know where to go for help. And of course, thankfully with my experience in the public service, I was able to connect her to ICA and to an agency who can help her. And actually the next day, I met her daughter, and she was very happy, and she came to me and said, thank you very much, because we managed to get help from ICA. They were very responsive, and we are now getting ready for the bike to be back.
No, sorry, I don't want to overpromise on behalf of ICA. Overnight, ICA got the bike back from Malaysia.
No, the bike is not back yet.
No, the bike is not back.
But they have already, at least they know the procedure. There is an established procedure that ICA help anybody who has these issues to get their property or their things back from other countries.
Okay, so it may take some time.
It may take some time.
But at least they have some confidence that.
Yes, correct. So from the daughter's expression, I know that she was very happy that we could help her and the family, and of course there is hope that her father can go back to work. I think that's important, right? Because that's what he needs for her life, for his livelihood.
Okay. And how did you meet the family to find out about this problem?
It was during our walkabout near the market. We were just coming out from the market.
They came out to
They
speak
just
to
came out to speak to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very important. And were they aware of other people who had similar problems? Or had they ever heard of someone?
So the daughter, when speaking to ICA, realized that there were quite a number of people with the same issues. So that's why the experience is there. The procedure is already there, but they just didn't know that the agency responsible who can help them is always available.
Yeah, that's very useful to know.
Yeah.
That's very useful to know. Well, one thing, perhaps, did you have a similar, or do you have some sense then of what it is that you want to champion or get done as a result of the people you've met over the last few days?
Yes, most definitely. I think it's not only just the last couple of days. You said it just now. I have been in the community for a while, and I have been here since the start of the whole circuit breaker. And because of this, a lot of the kinds of grants, of incentive and support schemes that we have had all through the 4 budgets, I was here with the community in Punggol. And there was something that happened the other day that I thought was made me very touched. As I was doing my walkabout, suddenly this person came up to me and said, "You are Yohan Ling." And I was like, "Yes." And then he said, "Oh, my name is Mr. Cole." And I was like, "Oh my goodness." And I remembered him because he was somebody, as I worked with the community, had come and talked to me about applying for grants. And he wasn't very sure about the conditions, the type of paperwork that he needed to put in. And so I actually helped him through, I think, about 3 different grant applications.
Mm.
And he remembered this. And I thought this was something that would be very important for me. And hopefully when I become an MP, to be able to assist our residents, to assist our people in being able to translate national policies into very localized and personal ways of doing things.
What was the difficulty that he was having that you unpicked for him?
I think sometimes it's kind of difficult to understand what kind of paperwork you need to put in. It's kind of difficult sometimes to write out your story, and all it takes is for somebody to walk the journey with you, to hold your hand through the whole process, and it actually takes it's about understanding what the residents need.
Yeah, and finding a job particularly is one of those things where you perhaps for some people you don't do it every day. You know, it's something that you perhaps did at a particular stage of your life, and then to rethink how to do it for a very different type of job and a very different type of environment can be very challenging for some of our residents.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Can I just use that as a way of answering one of our Facebook comments? Ang Sen Yong had asked a question. Really about when we talk about jobs. The comment is about the government talking about jobs, but actually it's about us as a party talking about jobs. Ang Seng Yong has said that the minimum requirement is a degree, and that there are gray areas. So first point, the minimum requirement is not a degree. The jobs that we have been talking about before we've had this COVID-19 crisis for some time are not all degree qualification jobs. And in fact, we have emphasized for some time that the foundation should be skills. That's why we have the Skills Future program. That's why we're talking about helping people in the middle of their life, in the middle of their career, transiting from one job to the other. We're not asking them to go and get another degree. No, not at all. We're asking them to have some technical training or some skills proficiency and use that or the skills that they've acquired in employment. So I just want to tell you, firstly, it's not about a degree. It's about skills and experience and proficiency. And we'll continue to take that approach, even as we help people transit jobs in the way that Ms. Yeo Wan Ling talked about in this crisis situation following up from COVID-19. Cheryl, you had a story as well.
And maybe I want to add on to that, as we talk about, it's about the skills and the skills that you've developed in the course of your career and how you feel that those skills are important to you. I met this one individual. He was working in the aerospace industry, and as everyone knows, aerospace industry is one of the toughest industries to be in at the moment. And unfortunately, a lot of our residents in Pasir Ris, Punggol, because of proximity to the airport, we have a lot of our residents working in aerospace, airlines, and transportation industry. So for this one particular resident, he was retrenched as aircraft technician role, or rather aerospace technician role. But he really enjoyed the work that he did, and he treasured the skills that he has learned throughout the years, throughout his career. But because of COVID-19 and because of the downturn, he had to take on a temporary job for the time being. So he took on the role of doing delivery, but he was certain that he wanted to come back into the industry, or at least be able to use the skills that he's learned so far. So I think when he was sharing his story, he was quite worried that he wasn't able to use his skill set. He was quite worried that he will lose his skills that he's acquired, and he was worried that he would be pigeonholed in a job that is not leveraging on the skills that he has already acquired. So I think one of the things that really sparked off our discussion was that there were also guys at the MRT that were sharing on the WSG initiatives. Right? So they had huge flags at the
These
back.
were our WSG
ambassadors.
So these were our WSG ambassadors, and I quickly put him aside, and then I put one of the ambassadors. This is one of the solutions that we can go for. So
Those WGS ambassadors
WSG.
were working quite hard. They
Yes,
did be
yes.
there almost as often as we were.
they are there for 4 weeks, and their only off day is on Thursday. And they're really passionate when they were sharing on what were the schemes that's available, whether it was the professional conversion program or whether it was the GE2020 traineeship program. And they were really sharing with that individual, these were the programs that's available. They're still at the MRT. I think they're doing it until about 9 p.m. Maybe that,
I met them at the hawker center too.
Yeah. So I think having that opportunity and sharing that story and being able to connect that individual with the folks from WSG itself, I think that's an important role that we play as a conduit to allow people to develop or to get out of these difficult times. So I guess my learning lesson from that is many of us are still navigating through this crisis. We're not out of the woods yet, and there's still a lot of residents that need some help. It can be quite daunting and quite challenging on what is the help available. And I think it's very important that we take it as our responsibility to be able to share and provide to Desmond's point, the last mile delivery, to direct people in the correct direction of getting help, getting the right help to people who need it most. I think that's something that I would truly like to work on.
And I'd like to add that actually it's not just help we are giving, because I sense that, when help is available, there is hope.
Yes.
So we are also providing hope to our residents and their families that through this crisis, you are not alone. We're going to walk this together.
Yeah, we're going to journey this
Yeah, we're
with
going
you.
to journey this together. It's like what Wan Ling has said.
And I think for me, what has really helped was during the circuit breaker period, myself and Mr. Zainal Sapari, we did almost 30, 40
Yes, we had quite a few Zoom sessions.
Zoom sessions on COVID-19 support grants and SIRS. And then one of the residents came up to me, "You're the SIRS guy." Kind of, yeah.
You did on SIRS, you did on internship programs, and
Education internship. And I even did SIRS in Mandarin.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We did SIRS in Mandarin.
Very good.
Of course, not by
I thought
me,
you.
because we have only lasted for 2 minutes.
2 minutes is pretty good.
We had someone who helped with the translation in Mandarin.
Mm.
So I think there was also one incident where someone came up to me and said, "Thank you," because we went through step-by-step details on how do we apply for
Yes.
SIRS. So I think that that was definitely very fulfilling, and I do hope that the right support packages goes to those in need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys have got a real sort of deep sense of the kind of things that people are worried about and what it is we need to do to make an impact on the lives of our residents if we are elected. I'm going to come around, give you a sort of an opportunity for further comments and stories. But maybe SM, do you have any comments about what they've said so far?
Just listening to the stories of our colleagues here, I think this really encapsulates one of the key themes, in fact, the key theme of our election. It's really jobs. And I think Singaporeans are concerned. There's anxiety about jobs and what changes, because this is not just a health crisis, it's an economic crisis all over the world. Unemployment has gone up, supply chains have been disrupted, demand is down. So it is a serious problem of jobs. And it's not just jobs it's because of because of the cycle of the circuit breaker, but it is jobs which are being restructured and changed for the future. So we have to deal with jobs from two levels. One level is how do we help people through this immediate period of crisis? Several months, it may be a year and a half, but how do we restructure and help people upskill? Companies to restructure, people to upskill, to look forward into the jobs of the future. And I think we can do it. We've done it before.
Thanks, SM. We indeed have to commit ourselves to getting this done and put all our effort into it. Before I maybe take another sort of set of questions from our candidates, I'm going to again read out some comments online. And perhaps myself and SM might have some comments about the comments and some answers, and we can see how we go. One of the first points is about the noise of aircraft in Punggol. It's a perennial problem. And we do have to apologize to our residents for it. It is quite disturbing, and it's something that it is quite noticeable. We've worked with the Paya Lebar Air Base commanders on a regular basis over the years. They have come to engage our residents, and our residents even have gone to meet them. And actually, many of the pilots also live in our area. The unfortunate reality is that there isn't much that is going to change about the aircraft noise until the airbase operations moves elsewhere. And the reason is the airspace for these aircraft is quite limited. And while the commanders and the teams have done what they can, any further shift is going to impact either operational capability or the safety of our pilots. And we really can't risk either the security and safety of Singapore and our national defense, or the health and lives of the men and women that fly these missions for us. So it's not often that I have to say that this is something that we have to find a way to live past, and there's no active solution. But I think this is one of those cases. And so all I can really offer is our apologies. We'll continue to find ways to engage with our residents who are facing these types of problems. As I said, I don't know if you want to add to
Well, actually, I mean, I do know the guys, and they come, the Paya Lebar Air Base people, and they, as you say, many of them live in Punggol,
That's right.
close by, and they do understand the issues, and they do take measures to ameliorate the situation. So, during exam periods, they try and fly a little less, and there are some periods in which they fly a little more. For example, as they prepare for certain major exercises or major events like the National Day Parade, so they may fly a little more and in larger formations in order to prepare for that. So there may be more disruptions for residents during those periods of time. But as Janice says, there is a plan to move out from Paya Lebar Air Base into Changi. It requires Changi to be developed, and that will provide us an enormous opportunity too to develop the whole of Paya Lebar Air Base into a new housing, commercial sort of center, and that again will be jobs quite close to home actually for our residents.
Thanks, Asa. Indeed. I'm going to now maybe draw some attention to some comments by a couple of gentlemen. I presume they're gentlemen, Ronnie Gan and Ken Lai and a few of the others, largely about how we have to do communication better, and we have to have a better MPS session, and we can't only communicate at our MPS session. We absolutely agree. And that is why communication with our residents occurs through fora like this. And myself and Ms. Yo Wan Ling had a number of Punggol Town talks. I know, Cheryl, you've done lots of Zoom webinars. Our email addresses are publicly available. And you can contact us sometimes on Facebook Messenger. And so the Meet the People session is only one of many, many channels of communication. Ultimately, we will go out there to seek your views and engage with you. But if you'd like to find ways to do our Meet the People session better, you might be interested to know that they're entirely volunteer run. We have lots of activists and volunteers that help us do this very important work to reach out to our residents. So if you are commenting about the Meet the People session and you have some insight about how to do it better, please come and volunteer and help us do it better.
Yes.
And we very much appreciate that you could maybe play a part in making this better rather than merely just pointing it out. Some of the comments are also about, for example, the need for bike patrols. Wearing a previous hat, I'm very happy if you would like to volunteer to join our active mobility bike patrol to make Punggol and Pasir Ris a safer place for pedestrians, cyclists, and all forms of active mobility. There's a sharpish comment here, SM, about our party and whether or not we indulge in groupthink. And this has been thrown at us many, many times. That whether or not the members of our party have independent minds. And I think we have three great examples here where they have very differing views about all kinds of things. And many of our colleagues, incumbents, and in the past have brought very difficult issues to Parliament and engaged in debate.
They're quite so.
And moved bills and moved legislation that have changed things for residents and all across Singapore. You might want to comment about that?
Well, actually, we do actively go out and look for people with different views. And you can see that in the diversity that we have in our MPs. I mean, even in the team that we have, the additions that we have someone who has extensive experience as an engineer, worked overseas, works in a private company. We've got Wan Ling, who also has extensive experience overseas, bringing investments to Singapore and runs a social enterprise. And we have Desmond, who has a public sector background, but it is a very public sector background. The SCF, the People's Association, very ground-based. So we do have quite different people. And of course, with Janil, he's a doctor. And we do have people who in Parliament who are, animal rights activists, environmental people who are very interested in environmental issues.
Champions for special needs education.
Correct. And have made changes and have encouraged government, spoken up, and actually have caused things to change. We've had a number of our members of parliament who have actually championed private members' bills to take through new laws, new legislation to move these issues forward. Christy Souza, several others recently. And so these are reflective of the range of views that we have and how we move government, legislation, policy forward. It's not static. We are always moving forward.
And that's why we have to redraft and rethink a manifesto. We have to present our ideas out to the people, and that's part of the electoral process. And ultimately, whether we have made sure that the policies, the debate, the legislation, the execution has served our people well, then gets decided by the people when they exercise their right to vote.
So indeed, we do go out and seek a diversity of views, and we want the diversity of views in Parliament. And that's one of the reasons why we have both NCMP scheme as well as the NMP scheme. We have both of these so that there is a diversity of views in Parliament. And Parliament is the place where important matters of national interest are debated and discussed. Issues are joined. Good ideas are put forward, accepted or rejected. And the reasons why are examined critically in debate where both sides can join issues. That's what we want.
Absolutely. I think I completely agree with you, SM, on this. And I hope we have an opportunity to deliver on exactly that following polling day. Our purpose today was to think through the journey that our new friends and candidates had gone through. So thank you for your questions. We'll try to answer a few more, but I'm going to return back to the central question that we had, which is, starting off as a new candidate, putting yourself forward for election in order to serve the residents as a member of parliament, and then coming through the electoral campaign, you meet people, you engage with issues and ideas, you get tested and you test your ideas, and you have to explain to people and you have to answer to people. That informs then what you want to do as a member of parliament after the election, should you be elected. So I'm going to return back. I'm going to start with Cheryl this time. We've had some of the issues around jobs and reskilling, but that can't be the only thing that people have asked you about, Cheryl. What else have you learned?
Yeah. So for me, if I can talk a bit more about the upskilling, because there was something interesting that SM raised just now on the need for re-looking at how we do things, the new norm of upskilling and doing things differently. And I'll cite a few examples, or one particular example that I found quite interesting. So this was at one of our shopping centers, and we had one of the cleaners operating cleaning robot.
I remember that. That was Loyang Point.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Loyang Point. So I had a conversation with him. I won't mention his name, but we had an interesting conversation, because for me as an engineer, I saw the robot was how cool it was. It was moving around and actually scanning the Loyang Point itself, and I did ask him, so how does the robot move? So apparently it has radar sensors, and it was mapping out Loyang Point, and it also has proximity sensors, so it doesn't bang into anyone. So I had a conversation with him, and it started with, so when you were told, or when he was told that he's going to use this new machine, how did he feel about it? So he shared that the first thing he felt about it was he was worried because he thought that automation would take away his job.
Mm.
Right? In fact, it took him about 3 months to start learning how to use the machine. And in the end, after going through the period of training, he was quite happy with it.
Mm.
And the reason was because now all he needs to do is to deploy the machine on the floor, and then he'll make its way through the ground floor itself, and then does all the cleaning while he can do other stuff.
Mm.
So that is upskilling and multi-skilling. And at the end of the day, and then I did ask him, so we compensated for it. So he said, yeah, because I took on this training and he was compensated for it. So I think that is just a small microcosm of some of the improvement and upskilling activities that allow us to multitask.
And he had a great deal of pride in his job. He was explaining it to Cheryl and myself,
Yeah.
what he was doing, how the machine works, etc. It was great.
Yeah, it was an exciting experience. So I think as we go through this, the new norm, jobs may be lost, or jobs could change, and there's going to be a great deal of fear in everyone as we move out of our comfort zone. But I think it's about us coming together and being part of this journey and making sure that we develop it in a way in which it helps everyone. I mean, we can't leave anyone behind. So that we can come up with good,
And this
better
is
jobs.
one of those areas where I know that our unions and unionists play a big role. Because I was advisor to the UE or electronics unions. And our union leaders and our union chiefs and those with branches actually basically, I mean, they come from the workforce themselves. They hold the hands of their fellow workers and say, hey, let's do this. Bring along guys who've done this before so that they have the confidence to move through this together.
Definitely. And just to add on, and to help our brother, Mr. Zainal Sapari, lend a voice in this session. And during this period of training, if you're an NTUC union member, you even get an allowance. $11 for every hour of training.
Yeah.
If you're a union member, if you're a non-union member, it's $10.
Mm.
So I've assisted you, Mr. Zainal, and you can do the next speech on the NTUC. Yeah, but
But I think this illustrates that, there are fears and anxieties when it comes to jobs, retraining, reskilling, and there are, companies have to invest in new equipment, and they have to get a return on that. So there are various parts of this which have to be put together, and there are various schemes which the different agencies have to package these so that the companies can be structured, the technology is there, the jobs are created, the training is there, and we can step through this.
Wan Ling, what about yourself? You were telling us the story earlier on. Has there been issues that you sort of were challenged by then, over and above what you had expected, that now perhaps you want to take forward as lessons? Should you be elected as a member of parliament?
Yeah, so for me, it's actually really listening to what our residents have to say, because I think the whole COVID-19 situation affects people really at the family level, at the personal level. And it's important for us to understand what they're going through. So this was a particular incident I remember quite clearly. As I was, walking around one of our community spots. It was a shopping mall in Punggol. And this lady, she led me to a corner, and she said, Wan Ling, could I speak with you on something quite privately? Because this has affected me quite a bit. And I can see that she was a little bit shy about wanting to explain the situation. But essentially, in a nutshell, what happens is that she has quite a number of children. She's a single mom, and she really needed a very good livelihood, but something in the community, because she couldn't leave the Punggol and go to work too far away because she needed to take care of her children. And it got me thinking, hey, this is actually something that we can really dig in and work on. It's actually creating jobs in the community for people who need to stay here, for people who are unable to leave for work outside of the community. So I think, right, this is something that really taught me a lesson. Listen to your residents. There will be issues that will be brought up, and it's something that all of us can actually work on for them.
Do you think these are issues, you were very driven around community mobilization, right?
Yes.
This was a big thing that
Yes,
you were very interested in. I know you spoke very passionately about this at
Yes.
the start of the campaign.
yes.
How, over the course of the campaign, what have you learned about this? Do you think, more opportunities? Is it a
Yes.
strategy that's going to work
Yes,
to
of course.
solve some problems?
Of course. I think firstly, the spirit must be willing. And when I speak with the community, I think a lot of people are in it to be part of the SG United solution. So I do think this is something that we can really aggregate and get people to come and contribute to the community. So I think the spirit is definitely willing. And now the thing is execution. How do we do it? And so I do think that at the local level, at the Pasir Ris Punggol level, we'll be able to come up with programs, with campaigns that allow people to do this in a win-win way, both to be able to serve people as well as to create good livelihoods out of this.
Excellent. So I'm going to turn to Desmond next.
Yeah.
I mean, you were telling us about how you helped this family get their motorbike back
Mhm.
and get ICA. Any other issues that you come across, or was there something where you were challenged? You didn't sort of know exactly how to solve it off the top of your head, or you had some difficulty helping the residents?
Yeah, actually, in my last few days of interaction with the residents of Pasir Ris Punggol, there were 3 segments that kind of I had a lot of opportunities to get in touch with. One was actually the seniors in our community. Second is actually the sandwich generation, right? So people of my age group, where they have to deal with jobs and the parents as well as children. And the third one is the special needs. But I'd like to maybe just share a story that I posted on my Facebook. So for those of you who want to find out more, you can go to my Facebook page, which is about seniors. And this is a point.
This is a shameless selling.
Sorry.
Yes.
Just have to do it, right?
Please follow mine too.
Except your part one.
Mine too.
Yes.
Okay, so this story was about, actually I was at a coffee shop, right? Just interacting with the residents, and then I came across these 2 ladies sitting together having breakfast. So I thought they were friends, so I went to talk to them. One of them was wheelchair bound, and the other one was they are around about the same age, right? So I asked, "Oh, are you family or your friends?" Right? That was kind of my starting question, and the person in the wheelchair then shared that actually they're friends, but ever since she had the condition, her friend has decided to stay with her to be her full-time caregiver. And that kind of wow, to me was that I reflected that this is actually a true example of how friends can become family, right? And as I was moved by the story, but at the same time, I started thinking about the caregiver because they are around 60s, they're in the 60s. So what happened when she also, needs help at some point in time, right?
The lady who was
Giving the care. That's right. And that's the part that I don't have the answers, but I think it's something that we have to look at, how to look after our seniors in our community, how to ensure that the caregiving is there, and also how to ensure that their medical need as well as the social need is taken care of in the community.
Did you have a solution, or is this something that you think?
Yeah, it's something that I have to think a little bit, maybe with Wan Ling's experience from
Social
the caregiving.
mobilization.
That's right. Yeah. Maybe you can also share some thoughts in it. Yeah.
Actually, I think you're absolutely correct. As I went around my blog visits, there was something that I actually was keeping an eye out for. It was people who were special needs people, adults, who were living with their older relatives, parents. Because for me, I do think that this would be an area where we would need to really look a little bit more into, especially when the special needs parents pass on. These would be people, these would be residents that we will need to take particular care. And I think, perhaps this whole entire idea of us working together with the elderly sandwich, as well as on this side on special needs adults, would be something that social mobilization maybe we can explore.
Could I sort of make a comment here? We met a lot of young people,
Yes.
who some of them first-time voters, some of them are nearly voters, almost voters, who haven't quite got to vote yet.
You had quite a lot of questions from almost voters, as well.
Yes. So, so I explained it to them this way. I said, you can't vote this time, but for sure you will vote next time. So think of this like almost your prelim exam.
Yes.
You or 10 years, you just think through. Supposing I could vote this time, what were the issues and factors I would take into account in deciding how to vote? And then you sort of think through that, follow the issues this time around, follow the issues for the next few years, so that when you get that opportunity to decide and vote in 4 or 5 years' time, then you are much more prepared to vote. Because after all, the future of the country is in your hands when you vote. You hold that power to decide what that future is. But I was going to come back to this point about mobilization and social mobilization. There's a lot of energy and idealism in our youth. And I think that, there is a lot of potential to convert that idealism and energy into something practical for the society and the community around them, so that we move this from a discussion on sort of theory and sort of how the society should be organized in a theoretical way into a practical way of implementing that in our own community. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for us.
Yeah,
That's right. One of the things that I'm going to give my 2 cents worth because I hadn't.
Yes.
We should ask.
That's right.
You've been a traffic light.
But in the campaign, and I remember this in the previous 2 campaigns that I participated in, actually was the sheer number of people that are willing to participate and be active around the solution. So, I mean, many of them that we interact most closely with, of course, are the activists that are part of our party or that have come to volunteer to do specific tasks. But actually, that spirit amongst the younger, but actually some of them have been doing this for some time as well, volunteers, is very energizing. They're committed to making Singapore. I mean, it's as simple as that. And they're willing to put their heart and soul into it.
Yes. And Singapore is a large concept, but you just make your community better.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Absolutely. And then that adds up, and then
Yes.
in every community, then everything moves in a forward direction. Okay, I think we again have overrun badly. We're now at 52 minutes, so we're going to have to sort of start wrapping up a little bit. Maybe I'll ask for just a few final comments from my 3 comrades. I'll go in reverse order. We'll have Desmond first. I think he's the last person I asked. Then we'll have Wan Ling, and then Cheryl, and then we'll have SM Chiu as well. Wrap it up, and we'll see whether we can do this again sometime. But I think we need to start ending. But Desmond, we've had a wide-ranging conversation. If I think through what we did last week, what we talked about today, the content has touched on every aspect of lives. Very personal, very policy, local, in Pasir Ris, Punggol, and national. The immediate crisis in the long term. But I think what I'm most interested in, and I think what would be perhaps most interesting to the viewers, would be your sense of how this campaign has gone and how it has affected you personally. What are you taking away as your sort of memory of this campaign?
Yeah, so I would say the word that I would describe my key reflection about this campaign and what we are voting for is unity. That if there is any time that this nation and our community need to be united, I think this is really the time for us as a community to come together. Whether it's helping each other, whether it's helping our neighbors, our friends, our families. I think we have to journey this together as a country, as a community, and as a family.
Thank you, Desmond. So absolutely, I think these are values close to our heart. One thing, what's your key takeaway? How this campaign has made an impression on you and in your interactions with our residents, especially.
I actually learned a lot from our residents. I think there's a lot of wisdom in the things that they have been sharing with us. There were so many takeaway phrases that I've heard from them. A lot of it was on compassion. A lot of it in Chinese was 用爱心去对待一个问题. These were all very, very important life learning lessons for me. And I think this will be something that I'll take myself into my future journey if I get elected as an MP, and also at the same time for my own personal life as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Sharon, you're a Pasir Ris boy standing for election for your own GRC, your own division, right? And so you have a personal stake in the future of your home, your family. How has this left an impression on you? It must feel a little bit different from you, but what are your key takeaways from this campaign?
I think for me, it has definitely felt very different. Neighbors now became residents that you bear some form of responsibility for, if given that opportunity. And then it makes it a lot more real, as in how do we get ourselves through these uncharted waters. Uh, the situation that we're in right now is truly unprecedented. The impact on the economy, the political situation, the jobs that are lost, may be lost, it's really up front and center. And these are truly challenging times. At the end of this election, we have a choice to make for us to come together. And to Desmond's point, this election must not divide us, but for us to come stronger together as one unit, as one Singapore, to get us through these tough times. And together, we will make Singapore the best home for our loved ones.
It's a heartfelt comment, Cheryl. I think we all completely agree. I'm going to hand over to SM Teo in a few minutes just to wrap up this session. We hope to continue this way of engaging with you or communicating with our residents for as long as necessary, while COVID perhaps causes some restriction in the way we traditionally do things. I'm very touched and moved by the sentiments expressed by our three new candidates, my friends, my comrades. They have gone out there, they have engaged with our residents in Pasir Ris Punggol GRC, as have I and SMTO, trying to find what are the problems and challenges that we need to address to make sure that you are individually, personally helped, and your families, by national policies. They've explained how, in doing so, they've grown to understand how giving hope as a result of that personal touch is important, and creating opportunities for jobs, for livelihoods, for families to look after themselves. And again, they have expressed that deep commitment to the sense of cohesion and unity that we all hold dear to our heart, part of being Singaporean, and a value that we in PAP also place a lot of emphasis on. So we all look forward to serving you in whatever capacity we can, but we hope to do so as your members of parliament. So for our wrap up to this webinar, our two rallies, and perhaps a final commentary on our campaign thus far, I'll hand over to SM2G.
Well, thank you, John. Well, you've listened to the stories that our candidates have listened to. They've listened to you, and they've come through. And my sense is that having worked with them and having gone through this campaign with them, I could see a change in them. It has redoubled their commitment to want to serve you. They now understand much more deeply what it means to be standing for election, to become, hopefully, your member of parliament if you place your trust in them. And I can see that they understand that much more deeply now through that interaction with you over this very intense period of the campaign. I think all of us understand that this campaign is taking place at a really exceptional time. We had this election at this time in order to clear the deck for us to face very serious crisis in the coming months and years. It's not just a health crisis that's affecting Singapore, it's affecting the whole world. It's not just an economic crisis that's affecting us, it's affecting the whole world. And it's also affecting the geopolitics of the world. Because where a crisis used to unite countries in the past to find common solutions. The crisis has now become a reason for countries to take issue with each other and to divide the world even more. And these things are all going to affect us in the future. And we have to prepare for this uncertainty. This election is really about our lives, our jobs, our future, and indeed the very future of Singapore. We need a strong, capable government and a united people in order to face this future. We need to harness all our energies, all our capabilities, all together. To fight the virus, to preserve jobs, to create new jobs for our people, and to come through this crisis together. During this period, you've got to know us better. You know Janil and I well for a number of years. You've got to know my new colleagues. We need your support to take us through. We need your votes in order for us to serve you. We ask for your support. We, PAP, Pasir Ris, Punggol team, we ask for your support so that we can work together with you. Please vote for us, and please vote for the People's Action Party on Friday. Thank you very much.